Richard says, what is Wiggy smoking? There are multiple answers to that question, but then goes on to say, just heard his lead in which he suggests that the New England Patriots would trade back. What is wrong with him? Well, he is, I don't want to speak for you, but you have heard the speculation about New Orleans and about Derek Carr, and therefore you are suggesting that you do not select at number 4 and you work a deal with them.
Yeah, because if you can't get Travis Hunter or Abdul Qadir, what some people are saying they're going to go in the top 3, and New Orleans definitely wants a quarterback, depending on who they're going to take, whether it's Shedeur Sanders. I know some people have Jackson Dart up there pretty high. Why not trade back to number 9 where New Orleans is picking, and then maybe pick up an extra second-round pick, and then you'll be able to get the guy that I think you could. I would go after Tyler Warren, but if you want an offensive lineman there, you could probably still find an offensive lineman there. I think it's just smart for you, rather than taking Will Campbell at number 4. I would not want to do that when I could maybe pick up some extra draft capital and help me out. I would do Tyler Warren at 9, and then I would do offensive lineman. I would even use both of my second-round picks to grab offensive linemen. The one I traded for to get me another pick in the second round, and I would use the one at the top of the draft. Chime brings it up all the time, Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College. Now you could use both of those if you wanted to go that direction. I would not waste 4 on Will Campbell. I would not do that.
One of Shime's mock enemies, Todd McShay, has
that guy
has Jackson Dart going before Shedeur Sanders.
He has Jackson Dart going 9 to the Saints.
Well, there you go. You trade up, and now the Saints can take Jackson Dart right there. Don't have to worry about maybe somebody else jump frogging them.
Well, Wiggy, I think your thought process is correct. I think they should do that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I just don't know that the Saints are going to trade up. They don't really need to jump frog anybody in order to draft the quarterback. They can just sit at 9, not have to give up the capital, and still get their guy.
You don't think maybe there might be a little bit of concern with the Jets? Maybe, I know Vegas, they re-signed Geno, or they gave him kind of like a new deal, but we've heard Brady say before, we don't want to necessarily play a rookie. So is there a chance that maybe Vegas or even the Jets might take a quarterback?
Yeah, maybe. I just need someone to explain to me. I talked about it with Ken Saturday. Why is Eliot Wolf here still? What is his purpose? What does he serve? How is he improving things other than saying nonsense whenever he's asked a question? If we all believe it's Vrabel's building, right? It's his operation.
Yeah.
He brought in this guy from the Giants. He's his Casario is already in place. Obviously, does anybody think Mike Vrabel, if he was doing an open interview process, would have landed on Eliot Wolf in his front office?
No, but we believe for some reason the Crafts like him, and that's why they kept him around.
And Vrabel had to be on board with keeping him around to take the job.
Right, which seems like you're doing the same things that you said were wrong in the prior administration today.
Right, but we know that kind of some of the things that they said were wrong in the prior administration, we know they're kind of going back to what they did.
Would you keep him on the team in your front office if you were Mike Vrabel?
Well, Vrabel doesn't have a choice.
Well, he did. I mean, he was a guy that was under some sort of demand coming in. He had some leverage over the operation.
He must because you know why Vrabel doesn't have a choice? Because Vrabel brought in his own guy. So if Vrabel really had a choice, he would have said, listen, I'm bringing in my guy. We're moving on from Eliot Wolf. But it seems like the Kraft said, okay, you can bring in a guy, but guess what? You're still going to have to work with Eliot Wolf, or he's going to still be around in some capacity, even though you're still atop him when it comes to the decisions. He's still here.
So if we all had to guess, not what we think they should do, but what the Patriots we think will do, I'll go first. They're going to take a tackle at 4. Whether it's Will Campbell, they're not going to trade. They're not going to get cute. They're not going to try and go back. They are going to take a tackle with their first pick at number 4.
I would maybe agree with you because that's what all the the experts are saying when it comes to
Is Will Campbell in your mind either tackle or guard? You don't care about the arm.
Anybody who
length
tells you
thing.
they know a damn thing about what he'll be is someone
Right.
who just read one magazine article
Right.
and thinks that they're an expert. I have
Also,
no idea. I haven't seen him play.
I'm aware it's impossible to listen to every minute of this show, but I got a bunch of text messages. Wiggy is saying jump frog on purpose because Courtney thought at one point that leapfrog was called jump frog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I misspoke
why
one time.
Wiggy is not. He's repeating that, and you may not have heard it before, but that's why he's doing.
Well, if you didn't hear it, all you got to do is go to the Odyssey app and do the rewind.
that is true. Yes.
So that's
That
a
is
It's a
true.
little inside
That is
joke
true.
on the show.
Yes,
Well, I
yes,
don't think it's inside. It was,
No, with us and the listeners,
yes.
yeah.
and the thing I would say about, because there are other tackles there, and there are, I still believe you can get a tackle in the second round. I just feel like when you're looking at impact players in the NFL, right? And if you're going to roll the dice on impact plays, because we don't know what none of these guys are, Will Campbell is not like a Joe Alt from Notre Dame a couple years ago where people are like, oh, this guy is a franchise guy. Like he's, it's been a long time since we've seen that. I just feel like when you're looking at the potential, I would prefer for a guy like Drake May, I would prefer to give him offensive talent that he can either throw the ball to, or if it's Ashton Genty, hand the ball to, and then pick up that offensive lineman in the second round. Because to me, if you're looking at more likely to hit on, a lineman or a tight end or an elite running back, I would go elite running backs and elite tight ends before elite linemen.
And so where do you have Abdul Carter going? Because he's visiting the Patriots today.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Shime says that he's probably going to go number 3 to the Giants, which I think is stupid on their part, but you know what? They're just going to add another edge rusher when they already got 2 really good ones. If you believe that number 2 Cleveland is going to take Travis Hunter, I think then the Giants. That's why I'm like, could the Giants be smart enough to not waste their pick on Abdul Carter because they're like, all right, we're good at this position, or do they just go, he's the best player available, even though we're loaded at the position?
Yeah.
And that's what if I'm the Patriots and those guys are all off the board, I would then trade down. Or if you want to say, if you want to say, all right, Ashton Genty's the guy, because if you trade down, maybe he's gone. I think Tyler Warren's still there, and you don't want to roll the dice on a guy like Ashton Genty, then all right, go with Ashton Genty.
I mean, Curtis, what conclusion did you come to, if any, on Saturday? I assume that Eliot Wolf is there to represent the Crafts, right?
Yeah, he is, and I just think that this is another example of the Crafts continuing to double down on bad ideas. And I don't think he'll be an issue. It's just energy and a nuisance that Mike Vrabel has to deal with while dealing with the second or least talented roster in the NFL. And that's why they are going to be this draft would be so different if they had traded for Tunsil. Because then you have your left tackle, you brought in Moses, he can walk on water and he can handle the right side of the line on the tackle position. And you'd be able to have the ability to trade back, maybe take Genty. You would have so many more things that you could be able to accomplish. The fact that you need a left tackle leaves you in a position where you're going to take Will Campbell and
Shime's our expert guy. Shime, what would you do? Like,
if I'm the Patriots, what I would
Yes.
do is trade down. I believe that this draft is the reason people see it as worse than a lot of other drafts is not because there's no talent, but just because there's not as many blue chip top end players. So there's not as many of those like possible all pro Hall of Fame guys, but I believe there are a lot of good NFL starters available, like in that middle of round 1 to beginning of round 3 area.
Yeah,
so
Daniel Jeremiah refers to this as a starter draft.
right, but how
Star
far
draft.
down would you trade, though?
So my goal would be to trade. I would trade down as far as 11 with the 49ers because I want to accrue as many draft picks in that first, second, third round as I can.
If they were able to get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at 4, would you say great draft or everybody else choked?
I would say somebody choked.
Okay, all right.
Because I don't know why you're taking any of those quarterbacks over Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
11 sleeps until the draft, and you can talk about it today, all day, and every day here on Boston Sports Original WEEI.